This is a gang stalking update. Feeling really annoyed right now, so I just want to do this before the thoughts get more scrambled or anything like that. So that's the apartment building in back of me that I get strange things happen, like the Purple Pavement Company, right? Paved their driveway, okay? And that was after I had made a post about these flowers over here. They turn purple in the spring. They'll be turning purple soon, okay? So that was odd, okay? These turn purple. I posted a picture talking about the purple pathway, you know, things that are not here now because it's green. And then another day it's purple. So I write these very poetic things and I post them on Facebook and sometimes the Instagram and to you on YouTube. So that was after that I posted to you that over here in this apartment building, when they had the driveway paved, the company that did it, the logo on the truck said the Purple Pavement. Okay? So that was odd. Things that make you go, right? Things that make you feel a little cuckoos. So then, many a times I'm making posts out here when you deal with gang stalking and you have your equipment shuts off. You know, your cameras and stuff shut off. Your lives shut down. And so you know that someone else is controlling your internet, like they're able to interfere with your internet. So from reading the book, let's see, I forget the name of it right now. There's materials that you can read. There's this book that I'm reading about gang stalking. I'm a little upset right now, so try to stay calm and explain this to you. So you heard that, you already know as far as the gang stalking goes. A lot of the stuff that they do to upset you, I had suddenly got a very nervous feeling and shaking and stuff like that when they use their little cyber toys. So I've been here living in this house for years, surrounded by a lot of very strange stuff, and that's what I'm explaining to you. I made a post earlier and uploaded it about this hedge, right? So when I make posts and stuff and I'm doing my lives and my internet is being interfered with, eventually through doing research, I learned that they're able to use the technology to do that, to shut off your internet. So I got to thinking, like, who is there watching you where they're able to see everything you're doing so they know exactly when they're using your internet? Because it's not like it shuts off as soon as you're doing your live. It's very precise. Like sometimes while you're saying specific things, or, you know, when you get to a peak moment, it's very intrusive, you know. Right when I'm in the middle of a meditation and a dance, the music will shut off. It's very calculating. So there's somebody watching. So when going through this, you know, your adrenochrome is sky high because you have PTSD, because there's people always messing with you. And they hide between the cloakness of they're trying to act like they're being normal. They'll cough. They'll do very rude things. They'll echo things that you did in the privacy of your own home, which lets you know that they have a way of looking inside your own home. And if you mention any of these things or say anything to anybody else, they'll think that you're crazy because they're not being gang stalked, because they don't know about the technology, because that's the way that this is built. So we fast forward to this little space that I have just to get a little peace of mind, because the whole thing is to derail you and to take away your sense of peace and normalcy. So you scramble somebody's brain and nerves enough, they're going to lash out, because now they're on a frequency of stress and agitation because you won't leave them alone. And this is what I'm surrounded by, is they play a very big part in it. So every year when it's time to chop down this hedge, they were chopping down the hedge a little low. So I've asked them, this has been a growing and ongoing neighborly struggle to get your neighbors to be courtesy, to be courteous of you, and you to be courteous of your neighbors. And if you have families and you're this close together and you have the ability to, right? You give each other a little privacy because you have daughters and husbands and wives and grandparents. The grandparents, that was a whole family affair out here, y'all, chopping this bush down so low so that you could just see right over the windows very easily over into the little space that I had, which is part of the gang stalking and the social terrorism that they do. So this was normal to them. Now that's not normal to me. If you're married and you have grandparents and you have children, to want to take away your own privacy. Because now I can see them, you know what I'm saying? And I don't want to. Give yourself a little privacy and courtesy. That's like walking outside butt naked and you don't have to kind of feeling. So I get the coughing and laughing and my internet shutting off and a very rude treatment in between the looking at me saying hello when I know that I'm not like they're Latino. I don't have anything against Latinos. I do have things against sneaky, lying, covert people. They're also Catholics, making a bad name. Are they all like that? Is that the representation? Let me know. Because in my research, I'm not finding out any pretty things. Nothing to make me think that I'm wrong about my assumptions at all. So they chopped down the hedge this year, okay? They chopped down all the trees that were giving me cover from that apartment building over there from the previous years. And between there, I've had the domestic violence issue. So I've been leaving and going to the domestic shelter for women, trying to get myself together. That's what women do. This is the building that my landlord, the man that owns this house, also owns this building, which is a realtor building. That's the sign that's there to sell the house. For years there was a shoe there, which actually was synonymous with this Greek story about, a shoe. But eventually the shoe gets defeated. The place shut down. They're gone and moved. He's trying to sell the place. So, let me tell you this story. He once had a secretary. Her name was Tara. I can't make this up. I mean, I could. Probably, I guess. I don't know. I don't got time for that because my life is already extraordinary. So he had this secretary named Tara working there. So when we first moved here, she was there. Also, there was a phone stolen out of the house, and she was the only one in there. She's Dominican or Hispanic. So I leave. I go to the women's shelter. That's one of the shelters that I got kicked out of. One of the women felt familiar, but I couldn't put my finger on it. And when you're struggling with PTSD and they're triggering you and stuff with the gang stalking tactics, and also have the things that I went through where my memory sometimes, it's difficult, because I haven't had any kind of therapy to be able to go back and trace what it is that they did to me. I've been dealing with this alone through meditation and prayer and writing, putting the pieces together, and using whatever help that I could find. Mostly through people that I can relate to, in stories and in writings, and research materials. So I'm at the domestic shelter and she seems familiar, but I'm not sure who she is. She says her name is Tara, but I had forgotten the secretary's name was Tara. I wasn't making the connection, because you try to forget so much to desensitize yourself just to be able to cope, that many times, you find yourself forgetting things that you need to remember. So here she is right in front of my face, and I did not recognize her. I just didn't. So the whole time I was there, and all this stage performance stuff was going on, and the people in the shelter were doing all this weird stuff. I was just thinking, okay, it's the gang stalking stuff, but I wasn't equating it to her and this place and this building being so close to the environment that I just left, and this little fishbowl that I've been complaining about for years. Check out the videos on gang stalking that I've been informing you about this environment for years. And one day the lid is going to be blown off of this whole thing, and you'll see that I was telling the truth and how much torture I went through in this place. So I got kicked out of that domestic violence shelter, and the woman that helped kick me out, name was Tara. And she actually owns houses, and she was affiliated with the landlord because she used to work for him. She doesn't work for him anymore. But I remember her saying that she had houses. And she's also a Hispanic or Latino. So there's a connection, and they've asked questions about the house before, and it's right next door. And if you have a growing family or a big family, and you know people and you're into real estate, it's a nice little piece of property to want that you've been coveting, watching me in the yard for years. I mean, the house was empty for years before I got here. No one was here for years. And we've been here for over 10. My daughters grew up in this house. Little weird stuff used to happen, like I would plant my garden. I planted some mushrooms one year, and got up and the mushrooms were pulled out of the ground, and I didn't know who did it. Then I was going to college, and their daughter had grown up, and she started going to college. So I would see her on the bus, and I'm like, "Good day, Tatiana. How are you?" And she would look at me right through me like she didn't even see me, didn't even know me. And that issue used to like freak me out. Like, I'm like, what is her problem? What did I do to her? You know what I'm saying? We live right next door to each other, and she's acting really weird. And then when I would see her mother or her father, occasionally sometimes her mom would speak, sometimes she wouldn't. Her dad, Angel, he would always say, "Good day, Regina," and I would say hello. So we just kept it like that for years, until occasionally me and my mom just say maybe a couple of words, not much, maybe hi. But it's a pretty distant and cold relationship, other than the coughing, the windows that open and close while I'm doing lives or taping stuff, the internet that goes off, just the regular gang stalking stuff. Mostly the laughing and the coughing that would get on my nerves and make me feel really bad. Okay, so that's the affiliation. You have people who own real estate. So he's an appraiser. They own a house. Tara owned houses, and she was working at the domestic violence place as a counselor. It's very well that, because a lot of people have business ideas to renovate houses and then make them domestic violence shelters for women. And that's a way that they have a business and earn a living. And there's a lot of freaky stuff going on with that situation right now. Also across the street, right through there, is where the UPS was always coming. You know, Amazon, UPS, FedEx, always at that house over there. Now they have a clear view right over here too. That's the other house. And if I go over there, they don't have a number on their house. If I go over there near that house, guarantee you, I'll get questions asked to me out of nowhere. My husband will be like, oh, why were you over there on that street? Like I don't belong over there or something, which is really weird. Like I can't walk over there. And how do you know that I was over there every time I go over there and I look at the front of their house? Like, what's the problem? So now there's a clear view for everybody. No privacy at all. So this was the only little spot that I had. I put a little cushion there and stay here and listen to the birds that were in the hedge. The birds loved the hedges. And they were constantly in and out. His wife said she couldn't stand the sounds of the birds. They're all up in the house and everything. But now their nests and all the birds that were in the hedge that I enjoyed watching, that I was taking pictures of, they have to wait for them to grow back too. So that was just mean and spiteful of them too. But that's the way humans are. It's like disregard for everything else around them, but what they want in their ego, which isn't worth crap, especially after you're freaking dead. Our ego wasn't worth anything. Okay, so now you're getting a picture of this little fishbowl. That's what I've been dealing with for years. And when I leave, somehow I get kicked out of those shelters, or some kind of weird stuff happens. My ankles get sprained, so there's witchcraft, all kinds of weird stuff. I was thinking about a sewing machine once. So I went to there's the only sewing machine that there was. That place right there is odd. And then there's the U-Haul. And then there's the bum that was living in the parking lot. That's his truck and trailer right there. And then that's the bar at the corner where they're allowed to do that. And they have the Trump truck with the sign on it and all that stuff. So all that is a whole big scenario over here on top of the domestic issue.